If you like what you hear in this podcast and want to help us keep the lights on, then you could support us on Ko-fi for as little as a £1 one-off donation. The links are in the episode description. Thanks for your support. This is Skip, the podcast where we tell you, in our opinion, which albums are truly unskippable and which ones belong in the skip. I'm Mike.
I'm Rob.
And this week we are taking a look at the Marshall Mathers LP from Eminem. This suggestion, there's a name attached to it on the sheet, and I don't remember the name, but I think this might be one of the ones where those who have made verbal suggestions to me have said this album multiple times, but we can attribute this to
Claire.
Thank you, Claire, for sending in the Marshall Mathers LP. I think Nick, who had one of his albums, he suggested Thriller, also said this, and before he remembered Thriller, and I've had a couple of other people go, oh, one of Eminem's early ones. So this has been in contention in some degree from quite a few people, which is only the second time that that's happened. First time was Black Parade. So there's some expectations going into this episode already. Hopefully we meet them. I'm not an Eminem person.
I very much am an
Yes,
Eminem person.
you-
So a few years back, he was actually my number one played artist on Spotify. I don't know how. I didn't think I'd listen to him that much, but I have got a soft spot for him. His characters are just so well explored. And I think I'm a big fan of rap anyway, as I've said a couple of times. Like, I will listen to anything you throw at me. But I just love how he explores rap, and he kind of says, well, this is for everyone. If you want to go into the industry, just don't throw any shade at me, or I'll turn you into a mediocre pop punk artist who then falls out of love with his wife. And I've gone a bit too far there, haven't I?
He savaged MGK so hard that he quit the game. It's something of a trend. This album, as far as I'm aware, was kind of before pretty much all of those kind of like high profile takedowns.
Yeah, so this is the third studio album and came out in the mighty year 2000.
2000, my God. A lot of people think this is his second album because they thought the Slim Shady LP was this first one, but no, there was one before that, an independent released one, which I've heard is absolutely terrible, but I've not listened to it, so I won't pass judgment. Have you heard the earliest material?
I don't think I have, but saying that, I'm not the sort of fan that will go back and find like mixtapes and B-sides and stuff like that. I just listen to what's freely available for me to have, sort of thing. I'm not going to go and deep dive to find anything.
Fair enough. It's an interesting one, this, because this album kind of feels like a response to what happened with the Slim Shady LP, the huge blow-up success of Eminem as an artist. So whilst this is very much I don't know whether you'd say a refinement of what's going on, it is more a commentary of the media response to Eminem, which is interesting. You don't get it so much these days, it doesn't feel like, where like a musical artist is being heralded as somebody dangerous. I think the last time the media tried to do that in this country, they picked Stormzy, and then he ended up being like a fantastic ambassador to young people. So it feels like we don't do that anymore. But I do remember the moral panic around Eminem.
Well, I think it was because he was the first white rap success. And that kind of scared middle America because they've gone, oh, rap is something that we typically associate with black culture. Oh no, a white rapper is standing up and teaching our white kids that rap is fine. Oh no, whatever shall we do?
Yeah, because white rap before this would have been what? Vanilla Ice and maybe Snow?
Yeah, so it was like corny. Any rap before this was essentially just not idolized. And Eminem just came along and went, ethnicity doesn't matter, skin color doesn't matter. The quality of the music and the quality of the rap is what matters. And it kind of cemented his status as an absolute symbol in the rap community, where even some of the most renowned rappers that were like, white people shouldn't be in this game, have gone, no, he's proved us wrong. Definitely white rappers belong here.
I was watching a video on YouTube this week about it, and it's this idea that Eminem does it for the love of the craft. He's the rapper's rapper, if you will. He's somebody who understands, how important it is to put together these things, to write these things really well, and then very much pays tribute to a lot of things that came before him. He isn't trying to go, I own the game. It's just, I love this so much, I cannot be doing anything but this. But then also this thing of, I am mentally deranged and will cause you a problem if you try to criticize me beyond what is acceptable. Basically, don't talk about Haley. A lot of people have to learn that lesson.
Yeah.
More than you'd think.
Yeah, Jarrell, you learn the hard way, mate. Like, don't talk about his daughter.
Don't do it.
Just do not do it.
He's allowed to do it, and it comes up in some uncomfortable scenarios in this album, but, you are very much not allowed to do it. It's weird.
Keep my daughter's name out of your goddamn mouth.
Weirdly, another person who gets a shout out in this album is Will Smith. It's a fucking bizarre time, back when Will Smith was actually a musical artist.
And didn't like to curse.
No, didn't.
No.
Eminem doesn't have that kind of hang-up, as you are about to learn. But before we go into talking about what's on the album, what the tracks are like, we need a bit of history, and of course, I'm not your guy.
Nope, that's my area of expertise. So this album was actually released on the 23rd of May 2000, and it was proactive and era-defining third studio album. It didn't just push boundaries, but it bulldozed them. I mean, if there's anything that can explain this album, I think it's that sentence.
Mm-hmm.
It captured Eminem at the height of his creative volatility, furious, hilarious, self-aware, self-destructive, and frighteningly gifted.
Yep.
So many fans and critics considered it his magnum opus, raw, unfiltered portrait of fame, trauma, and identity, delivered with unmatched lyrical precision and emotional intensity. Recording took place in late 1999 and early 2000 in Los Angeles. Eminem reunited with Dr. Dre, whose production, dark, minimal, and cinematic, became the backbone of this album. And I think Eminem has, like I said, a lot of his success is down to that partnership with Dre. And you can hear that there is a lot of admiration between the two of them in press conferences and actually in the songs as well. And he has a couple of quips saying about Dre in the work, and I think it's quite comical. He's like, well, Dr. Dre's dead, he's locked in my basement. But yeah, it was created during a period of explosive fame and controversy. He was suddenly the most talked about artist in the world, facing lawsuits, protests, and media scrutiny. And instead of retreating, he actually challenged everything, pushed his anger, pushed the fear, pushed humour, pushed trauma into a record that feels like psychological purge.
Oh, purge is the word for it, right? There's a lot going on here. And with Eminem, that can mean a lot of things. With this, it's very much what I think people think of as the classic era of this particular person. Multiple characters, multiple voices, some one-off, some recurring, some alter egos, some more stripped back. Really, one of the biggest questions is which one of these tracks is actually the genuine article. He does say the real Slim Shady. He is the real one. Slim Shady is yet another one of his characters. So authenticity, you can't say this isn't anything but his work. Just what voice is he writing in?
Exactly. I mean, the fact that he has so many revolving characters and he's killed them and brought them back, and it's like he takes what the press say about him and then turns that into a persona. And he goes, this is the persona you want me to have. This is the persona you're pushing. This is the persona you're getting.
Yeah.
And you're going to hate it even more than you thought you did. And that's, I think, why this album did so well. It's even the title of the album, it's like it's a battle between the public persona of Marshall Mathers and Eminem with complicated human undertones. And it's just crazy to look back and look at the media storm that he created just by releasing music.
There's going to be we'd have to have the conversation later on in the episode about what's defined as your artistic integrity and what's defined as your social responsibility. So I think that is really a conversation worth having when it comes to this album specifically. But we'll get into that later on down the line. Sales figures, please. I would like to hear some.
So it sold 1.76 million copies in its first week.
Jesus Christ.
Certified diamond in the US, one of the best selling rap albums in history. And it didn't just dominate the charts, it dominated headlines, classrooms, courtrooms, and political debates. Fair play, he had 3 singles.
There you go, lad. That's how you do it.
Oh, what a man. What a guy. So you had the Real Slim Shady, The Way I Am, and Stan, all released in April, September, and November.
There you go.
So
a normal album cycle.
Oh, it's so nice to see.
It's becoming more common on this show. Thank God for that.
Oh.
It's a weird one because it does feel like there are a lot of iconic tracks off this album. A lot that I didn't know and a lot that I didn't think I knew, but as it turns out I did.
And also some comedic skits in the middle.
We'll get into those.
So I like the fact that he managed to bundle in his humour and his like throwback to what he went through trying to create this album. He parodied his own life on his own album.
Oh man, that is a thought, and it's something that we're going to come into when we talk about authenticity. But the idea, I've always liked Eminem's humour. I say this as somebody whose favourite Eminem song is still "Fack." I am one of those weirdos, and he feels like every time he performs it, he's calling me out specifically because I just think it's so ridiculous and puerile in like a South Park-esque kind of vein. He does the Cartman voice several times over this album as well, which is really funny to me. But yeah, no, I weirdly like Fack. I know that it's terrible, but it's meant to be terrible. It's trash by design, which I think is very funny. But we're not here to talk about Fack. Yeah, this album sold gangbusters. My God, that is a lot to sell. I think it's still one of the best-selling rap albums of all time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's up there with one of the best of all time.
Yeah, not even shocked. Not even shocked.
Here's your random fact. So during the Grammys, while Eminem was at his height, he performed the song Stan with Elton John.
Yes.
One of his closest friends there, who helped him through addiction.
Yeah. It's a weird story.
It's a weird world.
It's a weird world. It's a weird story, specifically choosing to perform Stan with Elton John was because that, as much like the album, kind of mirroring and parodying his actual life, the backlash from a couple of the tracks off the album, which again we'll talk about later on in the social responsibility section, features a hell of a lot of slurs for gay people. And I think it's GLAAD, GLAAD, which is a LGBTQ charity in America, were like, yeah, this is incredibly homophobic and regressive and hateful and horrible. So to challenge that, he chooses to perform the song with an openly gay artist. Didn't really satiate GLAAD. They're still like, if anything, Elton John's a fucking traitor and we still hate Eminem. But I don't know. I don't know whether I see that as a valid... Well, I don't know whether I see it as an attempt to curtail criticism, an attempt to respond to essentially your freedom of speech being infringed, or whether that's an attempt at reconciliation, or all three, or none. I can't get inside the guy's head.
It's a tough one. But if we want to go into another artist that gave a comment on this, Johnny Cash actually defended Eminem.
I heard about this.
So the accusations that the album encouraged violence pointed out the most popular song of the 19th century was the violent folk song Jesse James.
There's the thing is, like, the basest of human responses to stuff was always what made the best songs. You know, we get love in ballads, and unfortunately with like kind of more violent songs, it's an undeniable part of human nature. Johnny Cash kind of has a point, but we'll get on to what our feelings about the content of the albums are in a little bit. Any more interesting facts?
So, in the United States, 11 times platinum and 12,540,000 sales.
Jesus wept.
In the United Kingdom, 9 times platinum, 2.7 million in sales.
Insane.
In Switzerland, 4 times platinum, 200,000 sales.
Unbelievable.
Sweden, 2 times platinum. Spain, platinum. South Korea, 106,000 album sales.
That is surprising.
South Africa, 2 times platinum. Poland, platinum. Norway, 2 times platinum. New Zealand, 5 times platinum. Mexico, platinum. Japan, platinum.
Japan, platinum?
Japan, 200,000 sales.
Good Lord. That is impressive.
Germany, 3 times platinum, 900,000. France, double platinum, 600,000. Finland, 40,000. Denmark, 6 times platinum.
Unbelievable.
Australia, 7 times platinum, 490,000 sales. And then if we even look, like, the best part is that some critics didn't rate this as highly as others. So Metacritic gave it 78 out of 100.
Yeah, which of course will be an aggregate of things that are submitted to Metacritic for
The Enemy, fair enough, 9 out of 10. He did something right. The Rolling Stone, 4. Q, 3 out of 5. USA Today, 3 out of 5. But then you go to the actual retrospective reviews, 5 out of 5. 9 out of 10 from the Great Rock discography. 5 out of 5 from the Rolling Stone album guide. Triple XL gave it 5 out of 5, or their Triple XL rating. It's incredible how, like, it came out and then years later, people were like, actually, now we've got past all the controversy, we can really see this album for what it is.
That's the interesting point, is that can it still elicit the same reaction, and what does that tell us about the art that's being created? That, again, it's one of the many conversations I want to have. We're already 17 minutes in. Maybe we should just get to one of them.
Yeah, maybe.
So you've already told me off pod, you love this thing.
Yeah, so I do really like this album. I'm not giving away what my verdict is of this because, of course, even with some of the best albums I've ever listened to, I find flaws.
Yeah, it's possible to love something and not think it's unskippable.
So this has got one of my favourite tracks of all time on.
Ooh, which one?
Stan.
Yeah, okay, we'll have the Stan conversation.
We need to have the Stan conversation. So, growing up in the UK, if you had access to music channels, this was the video that you saw more times than often. Like, if you were listening and Eminem came on, it would be this song. You've got Dido's really whiny but somehow beautiful vocals for this that work ridiculously well, which then ruined her own version of the song because nobody ever thinks, oh, okay, I want to listen to Dido now.
What was the Dido song called? Because obviously this is a sample.
Thank you
For
giving me the best day of my life.
Was it that one?
Yeah.
This bit, that's from that? Okay, fair
that's
enough.
that song.
Okay, fair enough.
Which is the complete polar opposite of the rest of the song. Like, the chorus and verse don't work together. So the fact that Eminem used the part that's actually, like, dark and down for this song is perfect.
It's a weird pairing, but, I mean...
One that works.
It's one that, it works. The legacy of this song is unparalleled.
Well, the fact it started a pop culture saying... Like, the phrase, a stan. Like, if you're a stan of something, it's the, like, comes from this story.
Which has already been watered down to hell, right?
Oh,
like, we talked about Stan because it is, a very destructive, overly obsessive fan. And now it's just something you really like. So we've already come through the idea, like, setting that cultural standard, and we've already started to desaturate what that means. That's one, a testament to how kind of ingrained in the culture this song now is, and two, an indication of just how far along we are. What's this, 26 years old now?
Yep.
This song?
It's
Jesus.
Crazy how old. Like, looking back 26 years later, still one of the most influential rap songs ever recorded. Which, it works well because artists after have recreated this, like, the whole talking to yourself, using the same cadence, using the same exact speech patterns. Like, you look at an artist like Joyner Lucas, who's a more recent rap artist. He does a song called I'm Not Racist, where he does half of it from the view of, like, a Confederate flag wielder and half of it from a typical African American. And he fights himself in the song, like, I'm not racist, and then he's giving reasons why both sides are racist. And it's like, it's a similar sort of thing to what's happening here, where he's writing letters to himself and then responding to letters from himself.
Again, it's that thing of these characters nested within characters. The character of Stan, he does like 2/3 of this song, and then the final third, of course, being Eminem himself reacting to an obsessive fan, of which by this point he'd garnered more than he ever thought he would. This is, again, that idea of this parody of his real life. He was facing people who were obsessive over his music. So this story, this fictionalized version of what he considers to be these very destructive, parasocial human beings, he just writes a version of it, also oddly mirroring the things that he would talk about in other songs. So, he talked about his kind of volatile relationship with his, I want to say, then girlfriend or possibly wife, and now definitely ex.
Yep.
I forget her name. I know it's Kim something, because obviously Kim comes up later on in the album. So it's a version of that, whilst also a kind of meditation on what he considers, parasocialism to be, as well as this is the stuff I have to deal with right now, and I didn't think that would ever happen. all kind of melded down and compressed into one. And I must say, it's very good. So it is a diamond of a story. It's haunting in all the right ways. I feel like it's haunting because there's pathos for the character of Stan. You're very much wanting him to not go down this path, despite the fact you only know him for like, what, 2-3 stanzas? You're like, dude, come on, pull yourself back from this. You don't need to be this plugged in.
You don't need to be this obsessed. And of course, this song came around the age where getting contact was an achievable thing. It's like just pre-internet like access, pre-regular internet access, I should say.
Yeah, sure.
Where people can find out details like PO boxes and stuff like that, post cheap. You're not having to spend 45 quid to send people a letter. You're not having to do telegrams, stuff like that. So it's kind of retrospective of the time that the song's written, and it just shows how batshit insane some people can be, thinking that everything in their life reverts to their favourite artist.
It's one of those where, like, I do think it's endlessly iconic. I wouldn't call it mad original. I feel like there's a song, I mean, I go, have you heard of Dance with the Devil? Like, everyone's heard of Dance with the Devil by Immortal Technique. Everybody knows that song. That very much set the template for horrific, horrible story that suddenly becomes incredibly relatable by the end. So this isn't new territory. I think what Eminem did with this that perhaps the Immortal Technique track doesn't do as well is pull from, this stuff happened to me. This very much is a lived-in experience, as opposed to, this is the kind of thing that was happening around me. I feel like the stuff that happened in Dance with the Devil isn't exactly a one-to-one recreation of what's going on. Whereas I think that the line that Eminem skirts between the fantasy, the reality, the fable, and the fiction and fact makes it all the more interesting.
It's the fact that you can see this happening and he didn't want to shy away from it. He wanted to attack it head on as his way of saying, don't fucking do this. I'm here to make music. I will meet you, take pictures with you. Don't make your life me. I am not your life. You have your own life. You should be living it for yourself. And that's the kind of message he was trying to portray by this.
It's an absolute standout of the record. It does feel like one of the most iconic things to come out of this particular time in recording history. We'd be stupid not to mention it. So there you go. We got Stan nice and out the way early on the positives. Is there anything else that you kind of feel like is in the same echelon as Stan on the record?
I mean, Paul. Let's put that in there.
One of the skits.
Nah, I'm joking. But some of the skits, I think the fact that he's included skits on the album are kind of the charm of it.
Yeah.
Like, you look at Paul, which is like his attack on the music industry, trying to attack him being scared of releasing this. Going down to Ken Kniff with that skit,
okay,
which is a little bit risque, which is talking about two different groups that have pissed him off and like putting them in one.
I don't actually know who Ken Kniff is.
Well, he's actually a fictional character.
Okay,
so
right.
he's used as kind of an alter ego to like show homosexuality with different people that have pissed him off.
Right. Okay. Interesting vibe there. This is the thing, right? Again, we'll talk about the social responsibility stuff towards the end.
He actually had his own song.
On the first album?
On the Slim Shady LP, he had his own song called Ken Kniff.
See, I've not heard that, so I don't know. Have you heard that?
I haven't, no.
Okay, fair enough. That's not the standout element of this particular skit, though, is it?
It's not. I mean, it's probably the... How do we put this? I mean... You've just said you were listening to this in public.
I was getting off a train as this started, so I was already in a pretty tightly compacted area with other people. Thankfully, the headphones I've got are pretty good at concealing sound, because if they wasn't, I would have had looks. It wouldn't have been very comfortable for me.
A lot of sloppy sound.
Oh man! So I don't understand the beef between Eminem and Insane Clown Posse.
They're both from Detroit.
Is that literally it?
And they said he wasn't a real rapper because they're a rap group that do horrorcore.
Right.
So they were trying to cause beef with them. And he's like, why are you attacking me? You don't even live in Detroit. You live like 10 miles outside town. Like, you can't claim to be the best rappers in Detroit and not actually live in Detroit.
I don't think they can claim to be the best anything, good old ICP, unless we're talking about, I mean, are they in contention for best musical meme with Miracles?
Fucking magnets.
Yeah,
how do they work?
It's pure motherfucking magic. It's such a bad video. Oh, I love it. I don't, but yeah.
But yeah, they got beef because there was apparently a perceived slight involving a promotional flyer for his album launch party for the Slim Shady LP, and the flyer listed ICP, which angered the group because they hadn't agreed to appear, which made a feud, so they started calling him Slim Anus. So he responded by adding that wonderful track.
I think he doesn't he also address the whole Slim Anus thing in one of the later tracks?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, because Slim Anus, I was like, where the fuck is that coming from? I should have read up on it. I didn't. That's not what I'm here for. Yeah, the skits are funny. I feel like it wouldn't be an Eminem album without some degree of humor.
Yeah.
So I think they do need to be there. I enjoy that the Steve Berman one is going, I can't fucking sell this. What's wrong with you? I enjoy that, like, the fictionalized version of Eminem is on the he's not necessarily a bad person. He's just like on the receiving end of like a lot of stick for creating the art he wants. Like, oh, I'm really proud of this album. We're like, this is dog shit. It won't sell. And then it goes multiple platinum across the globe. Yeah, no. So there's the Steve Berman one. There's the Paul one, which is very short. The Ken Kniff one, and I think that's kind of about it for skits. So back to tracks.
So I've got a sleeper one that is quite emotional if you sit and like properly listen to it, and that's Marshall Mathers.
Yeah, interesting track, isn't it?
It is. It's kind of like his identity piece. He's going, just look at it from my perspective. Yes, I've released this music. Yes, I make this music, but I'm human. I'm still Marshall. I'm not the characters I portray. Like, you look at actors and they portray racist, they portray like sexist and stuff like that. They finish filming or they finish being actors and they go back to being themselves. So why can't he?
Yeah, it's this idea of going, what is genuine artistry? And it's a weird one. I don't know how I feel about that specifically coming from Eminem, somebody who has created multiple characters in order to get his point across and make the kind of music that he's trying to make. So if we're talking about authenticity, I don't feel like he can be an absolute paragon for that. I don't think people really consider that Slim Shady is a person. I think that's very much come around in the past couple of years. I think Abracadabra, the video for that's like, it brings Slim back and it's very much the 2000s version of Eminem.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where it kind of landed for most people. It's like, oh, that was a character. Like, yeah, obviously. Like, it's not a nickname. It's an invention. It's an identity. It's another method of telling a story. So I think with Marshall Mathers as a track, what he's pulling back on is that realistically, at the core of that, there's him. And the question that throws up for me is that how much of that is still him? There's still a kind of a venom to this track, even though it's a bit more down-tempo and softer. He's like, but I'm just a guy. But also, like, you don't care about me. You didn't care before I got big. You all of a sudden care now that I'm running around on a multi-million album sold and record deal and Christ knows what. And now you think that all the crazy kind of, borderline schizophrenic stuff I was doing with all these characters is cool. The song kind of puts forward that he doesn't feel like people have been genuine about him as a person. So why does he have to then be genuine in return? You'll get what you're given, basically.
That's a great way to look at it. Are there any standout tracks for you?
A surprising amount, I will say, because it's not my kind of thing. What I enjoyed was when it was very clear that like, we're in the middle of an act. So weirdly, as horrifying as some of the lyrical content is, I did enjoy Kill You. I thought that was clearly a pantomime of what's going on and of how dangerous this person is. It's something that's not done as well in Criminal. And Criminal just kind of feels like a Kill You part 2. But it's the narrative of this person does not care and will do all of this shit if you even look at him sideways, and then kind of deflating it by going like, not really. Not really. There's a little bit of that playfulness to it, which I really enjoy. It's clearly so not who this person is. Although, like, it does kind of feed into kind of like all the Coastal Feud stuff. And it's the stuff that I find the least interesting about rap music, right? Coastal Feud, it does nothing for me. I don't care. So when Eminem is kind of viewing that through a kind of more lens of parody, has created a very, violent, vigilant soldier in Slim Shady. It's the reverse of what Drake does. Like, I've listened to Drake and I don't fucking like it. But kind of like Drake is like, I'm the best and you all suck. And then the second anybody comes at him, it's like, I just thought we were singing some nice songs. I just thought we were out here doing a lovely campfire song. And it's the reverse of that is Eminem. It's like I just wanted to make what I want to make. And then when he gets involved, it's like, okay, well, if I've got to get involved, here's the character of Slim Shady. He will literally cap a motherfucker for looking sideways at him.
Well, I love the fact it goes from that sort of coastal rap and like feud into you don't want to fuck with Shady.
I enjoy that.
Cause Shady will fucking kill you.
It's using. It's very funny to listen to, and it's very over the top. Eminem would have had a beautiful career in voice acting if he didn't get into rap. I tell you that.
Oh, 100%.
He's the way that he can just use his voice to kind of demark where all these different personalities stop and start. Like this comes straight before Stan, and it could not be more obvious that Stan is a different person to Shady, and then again to Eminem in Marshall Mathers. So I really respect what he's doing with that. It was just fun. I really did like it. Again, it's quite violent, but somehow is far from the most violent one on the record, which we'll get into later on. I also didn't mind The Way I Am. I thought that was all right. I kind of have a little bit of an issue with the narrative in both that and Who Knew. And it kind of comes into the conversation of kind of your responsibility as a public figure. We could have that conversation. Do you want to have that conversation?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool, right. I get that what Eminem is trying to say in this is that it is not his fault that people got obsessed about what he does. It is not his fault that people then use what he does as a stick to beat people with. It's not his fault if people use it as a political tool. It's not his fault if people think that this isn't an act. It's not his fault if people choose to replicate this language. It's not his fault if people choose to replicate the characters' ideas and emotions and language. This is purely about what he wants to do and how the artistic decisions that he has made in order to explore all of the horrible stuff that happened to him prior to this album coming out. I think that is a fair argument to make during the Slim Shady LP. I feel like on the Marshall Mathers LP, and obviously it can't be made unless it is a response to the world's response to you. Obviously, it's that kind of force feedback loop. But I think to say, I didn't know that I would get that big, fair enough. Okay. What are you going to do about that? And Eminem's response to that is absolutely fucking nothing. This is what I'm doing. Go fuck yourself. Which I think at the time it was released in 2000, I think is an interesting response. And to say that this is, basically I have freedom of expression, freedom of speech at the time, fair enough. I feel like we were in a much better socio-political position in 2000 than we are in 2026. I think you could not make a record this incendiary and divisive in 26 without it being a thing and a choice. That being said, I can't come down on whether or not I think Eminem has any degree of responsibility to tone himself back. I think in an ideal world it would be up to those who engage with the media to determine their relationship with it.
But if you look at when this was released, this is the height of people finding the internet, finding awful websites, finding unfiltered content, and the fact that you could have access to all that sort of stuff. And the music critics are kicking off because somebody said a few too many curses and then forced him to bleep certain words on tracks where they've never released a full unedited version.
There was a couple of instances where I was like, have I got a censored version of this album going on?
So
Nope.
it's a genuine thing. It's I think one of them talks about Columbine, and they went, no, this isn't being released.
Yep.
And like one of my friends, he's mad into restoring lost media, and he can't find an uncensored version. It's like he had one that was like half uncensored, and that bit was still censored because they didn't want it coming out, because they were already having a huge fight and trying to get this released in the first place. So the last thing he wants to do is glorify school violence. But that's the thing. It was a divisive album, and it was there to talk about the shit that was happening in America, which is still happening in America.
Yep.
So it just goes to show that even though they bleeped it, even though he didn't talk about it actively, it's still a problem in the modern day. So was Eminem's fault for creating violence? I'd say no.
No.
It's not his place to like hold himself back and hold himself accountable for releasing an album.
It's the same kind of discussion we were having about Slipknot, right? That kind of post-Columbine and then post-Iowa coming out, Slipknot was very much the drum to beat when the second there was another school shooting.
Yeah.
It's an inherently American problem. And unfortunately, they have multiple people they can pick up and go, they're the problem. Eminem, Slipknot, Marilyn Manson, every artist you could think of.
Not the people that have access to guns.
No, not the lawmakers making laws about retaining not the Second Amendment, that's the freedom of speech.
The right to hold arms.
Yeah, the right, whatever the one, Fifth Amendment, right to bear arms, I don't fucking know. That one, anyway. It's an inherently American problem. It's not necessarily something that we were thinking about worldwide. I think in the UK, when it came to kind of influencing children, that might have been the only real moral panic that we had with this. We don't want young kids imitating Eminem. And it's all over this album. It shows up in Stan, it shows up in The Way I Am, it shows up in Criminal, it shows up in I'm Back. I think it shows up in like Drug Ballad as well, even though that is very much not about the influence of on children. He was a big, huge star by this point, from that one success. And this is very much going, it's not my fault if your kid decides that he wants to imitate me.
It's the whole parental guidance sticker issue. And like for our generation where parents were giving 13-year-olds access to Grand Theft Auto, buying them an 18-rated game and then going, why are they turning out so violent? Well, you're giving an impressionable teenager access to graphic material that they shouldn't be getting access to because it's age-rated for a reason. It says parental guidance. It says 15.
Yep.
It says 18. If you take your 10, 12-year-old son into an 18 film that's full of sex and erotic stuff and then wonder why they turn into horny little bastards that are constantly addicted to porn, it's down to what you're giving them access to. If you want to restrict your child from listening to it, you could. I know plenty of people that didn't get access to harder materials until they were of the age where they could buy them themselves because their parents stopped them from getting it.
And that's a question, isn't it? How much of this is the parent's responsibility? Ultimately, if you were to ask my opinion, I'd say the vast majority of the responsibility is the
100%.
parents.
I mean, there's going to be bad eggs amongst the kids. Like, when I was growing up, some of my friends had access to more graphic stuff, so I didn't really listen to anything too over the top. Like Bullet for the Valentine, Bring Me the Horizon were kind of the top, but then you get bands like Nile and sort of really graphic bands like the Black Dahlia Murder and stuff like that were talking about chainsaws and violence and horrorcore, which this album is also horrorcore. It's all about whether the parents have any control of what their kids are doing. I think that's as big of a subject today as it was when we were 14 back in 2003.
It feels like a more prevalent conversation now. And I say this as somebody who did have access to materials that were probably more mature than what I should have been getting to. I definitely had access to stuff like Grand Theft Auto 3 before I was 18. Family computer lived in my bedroom. So I had kind of unfettered access to the wide internet with no parental locks. So you see stuff you're not meant to see. The question is how much has that warped where we are? I feel that at that time, there is a certain argument to be made for 1, freedom of expression, 2, freedom of information, and 3, better parental controls. I think the things at the time that would have felt really objectionable would have been stuff that is actively exploitative of the kids. And let's be real, as we're finding out more and more every day, turns out that there's a lot more sex pests in this world. Eminem is not one of them, and probably shouldn't be held to the same standard, if not a higher standard. You know, there's just somebody who is a very talented recording artist who has just decided to make music that is more suitable for an older audience. That is his choice. But you think about where we are now. I feel like if you had an artist that was as prolific and controversial as Eminem, now it would be seen as a much, much bigger danger. Because I feel like there's more of a kind of like, and I hate to use this as the demarcation point, right? After Adolescence came out on Netflix, and all of a sudden people realised that kids weren't all right, and that there is shit on the internet they shouldn't have access to, and that was the first time that I'd say 80% of people age 40 and older suddenly realised this. We're back to the kind of, not puritanical, we're back to kind of going, oh, should we do this? Should we do this? Should we have access to this? Should this even be allowed to exist? Now, I always come down on the idea that art should kind of be uncomfortable. I'm going to say that now because I'm going to make some points about one of the tracks on this album later on that you need to temper my criticism of with that statement. Art should make you uncomfortable. It should challenge you. It should make you change a perspective and see something in a different way.
Yep, completely agree.
It should not exploit.
No,
art is not to exploit. I don't feel like Eminem's work here is exploitative. I don't feel like it's taking something that belongs to somebody else and making something else out of it, kind of unnecessarily. I don't feel like it's there entirely to appeal to children or to appeal to people that shouldn't be listening to it. It feels very authentic. It feels very introspective. And for those reasons, I don't feel like, even if you were to hold it to today's slightly more careful standards, I still think it would come out as, yes, this is a truly artistic endeavour as opposed to a harmful piece of media.
He created this album to get people's backs up, to talk about some experiences that he'd had that were less than stellar. I think that's the best way to put it, or the simplest way to put it. He didn't do this to say, look how nice of a life I've had. It's like, the world is fucked. We need to do something about how fucked this world is. This shouldn't be taken as someone's favourite album for being happy. You're not listening to the Hoosiers. You're not listening to love songs. You're listening to someone's inner demons coming to the surface and going, what the fuck is happening? And as you say, it should be uncomfortable. And I'm guessing the uncomfortability is feeding into the track. Kim?
Before I talk about Kim, is there any more tracks you want to highlight as some of the best on the record?
No, I mean, if we could go over all the singles, and the singles were popular for a reason.
Yeah.
Catchy as shit.
Yep.
And are still earworms to this day. But let's get into Kim.
Kim is probably a song I never want to hear again.
It's very overly intense.
I can never come down. Where I'm landing today, and my opinion might shift, is I actively want to avoid listening to this song for as long as I live. It is simultaneously gross and exploring a twisted fantasy that doesn't feel like parody, that doesn't feel like an allegory for anything. It just kind of feels like a way to explore bringing harm to somebody you love. And I really don't, as somebody who's in very much a happy relationship, do not resonate with the message of the song whatsoever, if you can argue that there is a message. So again, art should make you uncomfortable. That doesn't mean you have to enjoy it.
Yep, completely agree. The screams, it sounds painful. It's not something that you can put into words. And if anybody ever has this song as their favourite song, then I would be questioning whether I'd want to spend any time with them or even be in the same room as them. It's a hard listen. I mean, yeah, it's a theatrical depiction and it's supposed to show a toxic relationship at breaking point. And yeah, he may have made it intentionally uncomfortable, but there's a level of uncomfortability, and then there's sheer panic and pain.
Mm.
Like, this song could cause people to have panic attacks. Like, it's that intense, it's that emotional, and it's not the only song he's ever done this with.
That's interesting. So I didn't think that you could repeat this kind of darkness twice.
There's another song, I think, on a different album where it's a similar sort of vibe, and it's as uncomfortable as this. And I think he likes visiting the uncomfortable to show where art can go. But as you say, just because it's there doesn't mean you need to enjoy it.
No, and I don't.
I don't enjoy this song either, especially having it on headphones.
Yeah.
If you had it out loud, it would be like people question why you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Because essentially it's the audio version of touch porn.
Yeah, for sure. Whether or not you kind of have a view of, the morality of what it is, there are multiple references to violence against women across, I'd say, 90% of this music. And I feel like for 80% of the time, you can kind of go, this is meant to be a character. This is meant to be somebody talking about this in the same blasé way that people who have less self-awareness, other artists who are more surface level and therefore kind of shitty, would already be talking about. Hoes and bitches, etc. That's not who Eminem feels like he is. He doesn't ever mask the fact that his relationship with women has been very trying in his life. Somebody who's referenced multiple times across the record is his mother, who he has a very strained relationship with. She stopped him having contact with his biological father. She is implied to be emotionally manipulative. It's confirmed that she sued the shit out of him after Slim Shady LP blew up. And it seems that they are very much never going to be on talking terms.
Well, especially now she's dead.
I had no idea she died.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did kind of bury the hatchet with her.
Okay.
And he has actually stopped performing some songs because of the rift it caused. So a later release, Cleaning Out My Closet, which was all about their relationship, he said he will never perform live again.
Okay.
To say sorry to his mom, because I do think they kind of bridged something towards the end before she passed.
It's an interesting caveat to what is going on here, because obviously you think about this as a kind of encapsulation of what's going on at the time. Very much the situation at the time was, this is an irreparable relationship. And it felt like that kind of informed his relationship with a lot of other women. I'd say potentially even the relationship with his daughter as well is volatile and is destructive, and it kind of is viewed through the lens of how it can achieve things for him. He talks about getting Haley on the track several times. He references violence towards Kim several times. I mean, Kim is obviously where at that moment completely jumped the shark, and it just turns into, here's a detailed fantasy of how I would kidnap and torture this person, and not in a way, again, it's weird, right? Because it comes up in quite a lot of the music. Here's exactly how I would beat the shit out of you. And it feels more like a constructed
dark fantasy,
a total fiction, I would say, in the other ones. When he's talking about how he's going to dismantle his rivals in the sphere, now he talks about how he's going to dismantle political and influential figures or other people in the music industry. Here's how I would tear you down. And it doesn't ever feel like he gets the place where we are with Kim, where it is a blow for blow play of not just how he would abuse this person, how he would kill this person, the things that he would scream in this person's face. And I think kind of eschewing any real kind of like rhyming structure in this adds to that sense of blurring the line between what is clearly a fiction and what kind of feels like a wanting reality. And it makes me very, very uncomfortable. I think there's a lot of things that we can talk about in kind of context to the era. I think all of the language in Criminal, which I do think is a lesser version of Kill You, all of the anti-LGBT language in that is very much a product of its time. It doesn't mean I would excuse it, but that's the lens that you have to view it with. There is no excuse for the intensity to which the narrative feels real in Kim.
There's only so much he can say, oh, it's a character for this one. It feels too dark, too deep, too developed. Like, yeah, it may have come from when he was off the rails, like when he was going through an episode after doing drugs because he was an addict. Yeah, maybe this came off the back of that, and it was a dark, twisted fantasy from when he was high on acid or something, a similar substance. But that doesn't mean it needs to be out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a fan of this song. And I love this album, but that and one other song are two that I really dislike. And
What's the other one?
My second one, and this is purely for audio reasons, is Be Pleased To.
You're not going to say the full title. Okay, fair enough. I just hate it because it's boring coastal rap shit.
I hate that, but the high pitch, if the backing track, I cannot have it on because it sets my tinnitus off.
Oh, really?
I physically cannot listen to that track.
Oh, shit.
Without getting tinnitus because
No
of the high pitched nature of the sounds in the backing track.
Oh, shit. I had no idea.
So I cannot physically listen to it. I can appreciate the rap verses. Like I have sat and listened to it a couple of times, but if I have this on headphones, I physically am incapable of listening to this song.
It's a shame you don't really hate it, so you could say this song makes me physically ill and mean it. but
I don't mind the song. It's supposed to blend humor, aggression, and swagger, and do that whole coastal rap thing, which was big at the time, which was kind of a criticism of Eminem, saying, "Oh, you're playing into this," and it was supposed to be a bit of a fun jab poke at that with other artists, but I can't appreciate it because I can't fucking listen to it.
Oh man, I wish I had some kind of physical reaction to this so that I would have a better excuse for not wanting to listen to it again. Unfortunately, my entire summation of the song is I don't care how jiggery pokery it is. It's boring fucking Bloods Crip shit. I do not care about this. This song is kind of all of the things that I was so glad did not rear its ugly head in stuff like To Pimp a Butterfly and Not Waving But Drowning, and in some of the Tyler stuff I've been listening to just in my spare time. When the medium is used to do something interesting, and you can make arguments for some of the more risque elements of this album being interesting, yes, I take your point. That's not what this is. The interesting part of this story here is that this was released as a promotional record and then added onto the album. I wonder whether this was meant to be on the album full stop. Because if it wasn't, I do think it would be a stronger album for it.
Oh, 100%.
It feels out of place. It feels regressive. It feels baseline. And, oh yeah, it means we get to say we got Dre and Snoop and Exhibit on there. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but it's all them doing the same boring shit. And I think that's the problem. It's post NWA Dre, which I don't really find interesting. I think a lot of people said, oh, do the Chronic. And I'm like, the Chronic kind of feels like the last time he would have been in anywhere remotely relevant. So that could be a discussion. But man, I do not vibe with just this bog standard, we will pull up, we will go brap brap. It's so stereotypical rap, and I don't enjoy that. I don't feel like that is historically... I like a couple of the records that kind of set the precedent. Yeah, sure, we can talk about their historical significance. On an Eminem record that's very much an introspection of the... how do I put it? An implosion of his personal life as it collides with his kind of new public personas. That is interesting. Why is this here?
Couldn't agree more. It feels so out of place. And for that reason, and for how fucking uncomfortable I feel listening to Kim, I'm gonna have to put this into the skip.
It's not a shock. I was between skipped and unskippable. I think that the high points are very high and the low points are painful. And it's not necessarily... I still don't know what side of the spectrum I've come down on with Kim. I never want to listen to it again. But am I then feeding into that kind of the overly negative kind of puritanical response that people would have had at the time and may have nowadays? Or is that something else? Am I actually going, there are limits to what should or shouldn't be made. I watch movies. I unfortunately have to watch Lars von Trier movies. Like, I don't like Lars von Trier. I think he just kind of makes gross stuff for the sake of making gross fucking stuff. Doesn't mean I don't think he shouldn't make it. You know what I'm like?
I know exactly what you mean.
Such a quandary. I just don't know where I sit. Like, I find it personally uncomfortable, but I have to force myself to go, no, it's artistically important. And if I'm doing that, I'm not going to engage at the fullest level. So, there you go.
I think you're on the same level as me then.
It's a shame.
It is a shame because the album is incredible. And I can see why so many people hail it as one of the best rap albums of all time. And yeah, art's supposed to be uncomfortable, but there's a certain level of uncomfortability that you can accept. And then there's having tinnitus.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's not even like I think Remember Me's kind of lame. I don't really love Under the Influence. Amityville's a bit baseline. I think I would have eventually landed on that this is a skipped album, but the highs are very high. I respect what he's doing. I can't get over it. I think I could even get past. I think if I loved the album, but I detested Kim to the level I currently still do, I think I still might give it unskippable to go. It evoked a very strong reaction and therefore succeeded as a piece of art. But like, nah, there's a couple of, even the skits I would think positively on.
I think the skits are Eminem style. That's how he brings himself to life. Like, is that extra bit of humor to go, look, it's not all guns, bitches, and hoes. Like, it's supposed to be a bit more fun.
And when it is that, it's more of a reflection of middle America, like that kind of decline in people. I mean, this kind of was, and I say this as the film guy again, he kind of perfected that vision when he did the 8 Mile movie. And I feel like that's where we kind of found a version of this where he had time to reflect on how he wanted to portray these people as opposed to how he wanted to tear them down. I think it's still an important album. It still feels like one of the albums you should listen to before you die. All the way through, though, I wouldn't be able to recommend that more than once. And we've made exceptions for that in the past. But I still think that there's stuff that you can confidently not listen to and get all the flavour of the album for anyway.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, give it a try, see what you think, but there's just tracks on here that I think you're designed to not like, and I'd be worried if you enjoyed them. And I think that's a great place to end it. But Mike, where is it the audience can send their submissions to?
Oh, a plug. I like a plug. Yeah, you can send your submissions for Unskippable Albums to us at our email address, if you like emails, skippod@gmail.com. That's skipdpod@gmail.com. Alternatively, you can go to the link tree where there's a form you can fill out. That's linktr.ee/skipdpod. That's basically our handle. Anywhere you want to find us, you can send us an Instagram message. You can find us on Blue Sky. Who's there? Who knows?
I'm not even on there.
The Skip's on there. I'm not on Blue Sky. I'm not getting involved in weird, more left Twitter. I've left Twitter sphere. I'm very happy for it. I can do Instagram because that's where Brazilian Michael Jackson reels live. I'm still not over it. It's still funny. Yeah, so send your suggestions for Unskippable Albums into us. This one, unfortunately, does not join the wall, but maybe yours will. Next week, kind of a different vibe. We talk about nostalgia a lot for the early 2000s and this is very much going to be nostalgic for a lot of people in the early to mid 2000s.
Mid to late.
Mid to late. I forget what year that album comes out. Anyway, I'm sure it'll be an absolute riot. We will see you next week to talk about it. Bye, everybody.
Bye.